Hey guys, it's Lumen, and today I will be presenting my Blackbird team that I use to farm MD2 consistently and quickly and efficiently with supposedly no deaths, although sometimes, I'm just not paying attention and I die or I screw something up. So, anyway, here's my team for farming. You might recognize a lot of the characters since, they're probably already very popularized when Blackbird debuted, but nonetheless I'll explain the team and then I'll explain how I deal with each floor, and more importantly how I deal with the interactions between floors. I feel like sometimes a certain combination of spawns can prove lethal, and in this case with this team there shouldn't be any, but some combinations you got to deal with differently. I'm gonna try and dig into that. So Blackbird, very strong. I mean, it's a robot, transforming robot, where you have a 25 turn initial setup and then you have 6 turns for the second transform. And so after that you get your orb generator plus spike, and you just rely on that throughout the dungeon for all your orb generation needs and things like that. It's what makes the robots so consistent, right? It's just orb generation, your consistent leader skill activation, and the necessary damage to punch through the damage requirements for these endgame dungeons. So that's Blackbird, right? On both Blackbirds I have 4 SDR and a God Killer, because unlike Daytona, Blackbird doesn't actually cap out his sub attribute, but the God Killer does help in raising the damage, because you still do like 800 million to like 1 billion, right? And so if you put a God Killer, you're effectively increasing your damage by anywhere to 400 to 500 million, which might not be the most, right? It might not matter too much for most spawns, but it definitely does help, especially when you consider certain spawns that are slightly tankier than you would want them to be. 4 STR obviously to prevent the skill delay in the beginning. Now the assist on both of them is Amaj, right? So Amaj is 5 million MP from the Monster Point store, the most expensive offering there, and for what it's worth, it's quite good. I mean, you get skill boost, you get 3 team HP, you get on color stat transfer, and you get this really amazing active, right? That if it ever comes up, it'll bail you out. Yeah, because it's a full shield, it's like a free pass, right? Nothing can kill you. So the reason why this matters is, let's say you run into Nut, right? Nut has an annoying habit of hasting your leaders to an excessive degree, right? Oh my god, I'm gonna haste your leaders 15 turns. And if your assist is less than that, then your assist comes up, and now if you relied on your leaders to do something, well, they can't do what they're supposed to do, which is pretty frustrating. Of course, you can also abuse Nut in other teams, but for submarines and robots, it's more annoying than not. But with Amaj, what's great about him is if your leads get hasted, you just press the shield and just 1C, right? Just charge up your leader. It's not a big deal. So that's nice. Now, I don't have mine skilled, and the reason is because unskilled Amaj, it doesn't come up on Nut's preemptive, which is really nice because you can just speed through, right? Like, yeah, you can shield, but I like to go as fast as I can, which, kills me sometimes, but the less time you spend playing, it's like the more time you have for other things. And when I try to go as fast as I can, if I have to deal with one seeing a shield, that does take time. So what I end up doing is I leave them unskilled so that Nuts preempted doesn't haste them, and then if I get the below 50 haste, then it's whatever, right? I just stop. Yeah, I don't know why I elaborated so much on that. I guess it's a sticking point for me. Okay, let's move on to the subs here. First, we have Allatu, New Year's Allatu. I mean, orb skin card, pretty accessible if you're willing to spend money and have a budget of some sort. I mean, it's great. Double 10C with a Super Awakening VDP. I believe it provides L unlock and good amount of skill boost, and then the active is just truly amazing, right? Because you have the board refresh, right? Which is honestly more useful than you might think. It indirectly solves a lot of problems, and that's what makes the active so amazing. Of course, you pair that with the absolute godlike awakenings, and New Year's Allatu just becomes best in slot, so you run New Year's Allatu, right? And the time buff, kind of nice in certain situations, like in the very beginning, floor 2, you have a time debuff while you use Allatu, and you're just chilling, right? You don't have to deal with that. Okay, next up we have Ghostring. You might think, oh, Ghostring, I can't get this. Yeah, this is like the one part of the build where it's like you had to get really lucky, because like when Ghostring debuted, he was really trash. I thought he was trash too, and so he came out, he's a gimmick, and I didn't plan to roll Gung-Ho Collab at all. But because I didn't have any Magians, there's like a certain card in Gung-Ho Collab that's really broken that I didn't get even a single copy of. And it still annoys me to this day, but it's just what it is. So I rolled the collab a couple times and I got Ghostring. Like, I guess, you know, sometimes you just get lucky, right? And so now I have Ghostring. And Ghostring is the unlocker of the team. He unlocks pretty much everything, and he provides supplementary orb generation along with Garou. Now, the reason why the orb unlock is useful, I know a lot of JP YouTubers, NA YouTubers, you know, I look around and I see, oh, people are using double Garou, right? And, you know, double Garou is good, and it's very accessible. You just have to nuke some black metals, right? The thing is, though, is that with double Garou, it's good, but the unlock utility of Ghostring's active is just too good. It's broken. It makes things consistent, right? Because you have Orochi, right? And Orochi locks like all the time. He locks every single turn. And normally with double Garou, what you end up doing is you save up your Chakeol active until you reach that floor, and then you use Allatu and then Chakeol, so you don't cast your shield right away. But with Ghostring, you don't need to worry about any of that. Instead, you pop Chakeol right away, and you don't worry about your shield timing to use it as the unlock. So it just makes things a little easier, but the real difference maker, in my opinion, is when you get to G Mille, because Mille has a chance to lock, 20% chance on normal moves, and then I think she full board locks you at the 50% one. Ghostring is very useful there, because, you know, I get it, 20% chance to lock. What are the odds? Well, if you get locked consecutively or 3 times in a row, double Garou is not going to save you. You are just dead. And with Ghostring, it reduces the chance of you getting just trolled. So that's why he's good. And also he has triple 10C and he does a ton of damage and he has a ton of skill boosts. Like, I forget about the awakenings because I use them for the active. Because if it wasn't for the active, he'd be replaceable by Garou. But he's not because, well, guess what? His active is jacked. And his awakenings are similar enough, and he even has the dark sub-attribute ping to make him really, really, really good. Now, next up, we have Garou, and Garou is jacked. Like, I'm sure if you were even remotely active, you would have heard of this guy, and you would have picked him up. Like, even if you had to scrounge for the time OPM was around, you would do it just to get a Garou. He's so good. It's just, he's so fine-tuned. Like, I don't understand what Yamapei was thinking when he actually made this card. It's so jacked. I know I'm like just kind of reacting and babbling, not really presenting any coherent thoughts, but I just have to get it out of the way before I actually start talking about him, because he's just that good, especially for a pseudo farmable, right? Okay, so let's take a look at his kit. First of all, he's Devil. And this is important because a lot of dark teams right now actually require that Devil typing, right? Which you don't get in some cards. I guess, like, I was thinking of Zakor, right? Zeraf Core. It's not really that big of an issue, but Dark Devil is a consideration, right? It's something, right? So it's Dark Devil, Dark Mainnet, Dark Sub-Attribute, and then he has double 10C and a VDP Super Awakening. So he has the capacity to deal tremendous amounts of damage for dark teams, right? That can utilize and, you know, generate the combos needed. Now, why is he so good? Of course, his awakening kit is already supreme, right, for a farmable, but what puts him over the top is his active. Remember, endgame dungeons, everything has to be top-notch. Everything has to be good, right? If your awakenings are not good, if they're subpar, you're doomed, right? It doesn't matter if your active is god tier. It's very, very difficult to overcome like subpar on one aspect. So with Allatu, his awakenings are good, and his active is also tremendous. And the reason why for the active is because it casts unmatchable on blue, right? And I know that's kind of weird, right? Like, you make water unmatchable for 2 turns, right? And you cast no Skyfall, and then you generate 4 dark and 4 heal. And so you might think, okay, that's a lot of orb generation. It's a 2-turn cooldown, right? So a lot of orb generation, but you do get no Skyfall, and you do get water unmatchable. So what makes this so good is that Gung-Ho, for whatever reason, has always thought that no Skyfall is an impediment, like a drawback. Because no Skyfall is like one of the most broken features of this card. Now, you might be thinking, wait, I kind of, every ranking nowadays kind of pray for Skyfall. What do you mean by no Skyfall, huh? And I get it. Skyfall is generally good. It's generally useful, right? You deal more damage and get more combos. It's just nice, right? But what you have to consider here is that Skyfall makes damage random sometimes. And what I mean by that is that when you have the ability to Skyfall, it means that your damage will not always be consistent. Like, for example, if you're trying to damage control something very cleanly and you have Skyfall, well, guess what? If you Skyfall a random dark combo, as in Blackbird, you're going to deal way more damage than you initially calculated. And you know what that means? It means you're just screwed. Because guess what? All your calculations fly out the window. But with Garou's no Skyfall trigger on such a quick cooldown, you can set up situations where you can properly damage control without the interference of Skyfall combos. And that is such a valuable tool, especially in this dungeon. And not to mention, right? Yeah, you can damage control, but in general, it just means that, for the trade-off of extra orbs, it's just so worth it, right? No Skyfall doesn't even matter if, you're already making a bunch of combos from the leader skill, and, no Skyfall can help you later down the line in the dungeon. It also removes existing no Skyfall debuffs, right? Like, for example, baby Mille, 99 turn Skyfall debuff. Well, guess what? Now it's 2 turns. That's really nice. Now, of course, Allatu also does that, right? Allatu also casts 1 turn of no Skyfall debuff, and Allatu has to because it's a board refresh active. If you didn't, then you could cheese a lot of things and it wouldn't be very healthy for the game. And then, of course, you have the water unmatchable. Now, the thing is, you might think that's bad, right? And maybe it is. But keep in mind that the water unmatchable overrides other unmatchable statuses. So if you currently had a pre-existing dark unmatchable per se, well, guess what? You use Garou and the dark unmatchable disappears and is replaced by water unmatchable. And the reason why it's nice is because guess what? Blackbird gets rid of water. It converts water to heal. So it's not like you care about water unmatchable. It just disappears. So all these supposed detriments, right? These supposed drawbacks are actually just benefits. You just get this jacked black metal card that is now best in slot for every single Blackbird team. I can see it being used in other dungeons too. Like, you just pair this with like an Awoken Bind Clear sub, and now you got a partial clerics to cover all your needs. Last but not least, we have Chakeol, right? Or Halloween Chakeol. And Halloween Chakeol is your shield sub. Blackbird is not the tankiest elite. He's pretty tanky, but not the tankiest elite. However, with Chakeol, suddenly you become a super tank. You become very, very tanky, and you really don't have much to worry about. Now, this is very convenient because with Chakeol's shield and, with the assist that I'm about to mention, you augment your survivability to a level that makes you unkillable to everything. You just get screwed by executes, of course, but what I'm saying is to all the normal moves in the dungeon, with the amount of survivability that I packed in this team, you have nothing to worry about. And that in itself is a huge benefit, right? Because you just run through the dungeon without having to manage shield actives or whatever, which is pretty nice. Okay, so with that, we have the team, and let's dig into the assists. On my Allatu, I have Kunimitsu. He was the orb skin from the Prince of Tennis, and he's pretty good. He is a 2-turn haste, and then he does a lot of other secondary effect. What I care about is the 2-turn haste, and then the awakenings, which is a skill boost and 3 team RCV. Now, the thing is, because Amaj already gives a bunch of team HP, when you scale your HP that much, your recovery starts to become lacking, and if you can't recover, your HP doesn't matter nearly as much. Like, you have 100,000 HP, but if you can't recover all the damage you take in the dungeon, what ends up happening is you get slowly chipped down and down and down and down to 0. So the team RCV is a very nice touch, and I was really looking for the haste and the skill boost, but the team recovery just makes the team much better, especially with all the heal orbs I get. You don't really need to worry about anything. Okay, next we have Kiyosumi's Tennis Racket on Ghostring. The Tennis Racket here is the delay. It delays for 4 turns, which helps me get Blackbird up in time in the final transform. And not only that, but the Tennis Racket also provides team HP and a team recovery. So it just augments my survivability even more. And then last but not least, I have Boar Head on both Garou and H Chakeol. Now, the reason why I have both of them is because it's a lot of team HP, and then it has a skill boost on both of them and a Fujin active on both of them, Fujin and Color Void. And the reason why I use 2, and you don't really have to, like you could use like Saitama equip. I think if you calculate it right, you could use menu equip, but I use just Boar heads. I'd be very careful with menu equip. Boar heads definitely the nicest. Saitama is also pretty good. Now, the reason why I use double Boar head is because you get the skill boost, you get the health, and then you also get Fujin and Color Void active. What's nice about 2 of them is that when you run into floor 2, there's a possibility, 50% chance of getting a light Moltdra. It casts a random attribute absorb shield. And the thing is, a random one means you have a 20% chance of getting dark absorb. And if you get dark absorb and you don't have a counter to that, well, guess what? You're kind of boned. So I have 1 Boar head to take care of that. And then I have another Boar head to take care of the double Fujin floors on floor 3 and floor 4. And I know it'd be nice to have a 3-turn Fujin, but yeah, I don't have that luxury, so I can't really do that. Yeah, that's how we roll here. Double Boar heads, 1 to take out the attribute absorb shield, and 1 to take out the double Fujin gauntlet of Crono Turtle and Cronos. So now that I've explained the whole team, I guess I could go mention some replacements. Allatu, can't really think of one. I'm not joking, it's like, she's really good. You're probably not going to get anything as good, right? In terms of replacements for Ghostring, I already said you could use Garou. And one thing I do want to mention is that if you're going to run 2 Garou, right, which is, you know, popularized by other YouTubers, I would actually recommend running one of them VDP and one of them Skill Boost Plus. The reason why is because you actually just don't need that much VDP damage. Like, running 2 VDP Garou is nice, it's also super fake. Like, you don't need it. And I can attest to that because Ghostring just basically does the same amount of damage as Garou. Maybe a little more, but Ghostring can't VDP and I've had no issues. So it doesn't matter. Just run 1 double Skill Boost and 1 VDP. If you're running double Garou. And last but not least for H Chakeol, if you don't have H Chakeol, the next best replacement is Ruo. Ruo is nice. The shield is lower, but it casts this orb Skyfall, the fire and dark Skyfall buff, which means you have orbs raining for days. And it also overrides annoying Skyfall buffs like Baby Mille's 99 turn heal Skyfall buff, right? Like, that's annoying because it can troll you potentially, but it's also just, you have less orbs that you really want, right? Like, you don't really want healers because you're generating enough off of Blackbird's active. So Ruo is a replacement. I prefer H Chakeol. I think it's better, but Ruo definitely works. Now, assist wise, I don't know. I did explain that you could use like Saitama equip and menu equip, but I'd rather you just know what they do, right? Like Kiyosumi's tennis racket is the 4-turn delay, right? Just look up something for delay to replace that. You're not going to get something as good because you're not going to get something with team HP and 4 turns of delay, but you know, that's just what it does. And if you need to replace it, then you got to find a suboptimal replacement, right? Kunimitsu's equip, you can replace that as well. I'm sure you could use something like Harvest Loot and do perfectly fine. Kunimitsu is just optimal, right? It's just best because you don't need the cloud resist off the Harvest Loot. But for all intents and purposes, Harvest Loot does exactly the same thing as Kunimitsu's equip. So it's just Kunimitsu is a tad bit better. Yeah, with that, that's the team. Those are some replacements. I'm not really here to discuss team building because I don't really care about replacements. If you want to replace stuff, I explain what everything does, so you just gotta think about what can fulfill the role that you're missing. Let's get into the dungeon. Man, that was really long. Oh my god, the editor's gonna kill me. There's gonna be so much editing to do. Okay, floor 1, transform your Blackbirds. Delay, haste, you know, 1 see a bunch. And then when your Blackbirds are up, you just take them one at a time. Mass attack with the first board and just kill with the second. It's not really that complicated. Just don't screw it up, okay? Like, I guess if you want to be really optimal, you try to avoid matching green and matching dark because you can ping off of that, but that's just nitpicking, honestly. Floor 2, there's a lot of management on that floor. Floor 2, if you get the light Moltdra, it's very simple. You just activate the board head on H Chakeol, right? Specifically H Chakeol, right? You activate the one H Chakeol, and then you transform Blackbird, and then you mass attack and you just kill everything in one turn. Right? It's very simple. If you get the other one, you get the Dark Moltdra that's really annoying. Well, it's a little more complicated. So what you have to do is you have to immediately target the Dark Moltdra, and then you cannot mass attack. If you mass attack, you'll die. So do not mass attack, just combo out. And then what happens is you hit the Dark Moltdra, and then the remaining damage will go to like the red Carbuncle, right? And the red Carbuncle will just take a bunch of damage. If you get like 4 combos, it'll die. 5 combos will deal like some damage to the blue one, and 3 combos won't kill it. Just target the dark one. Once it gets below 50, right, then you'll get hit, and then you just mass attack and kill everything after that, because now you don't have to deal with the super resolve anymore. Just be careful. Okay, next up we have the Crono Turtle. Here I just go right away. You make sure to use the Boar head first on Garou, and then you use Blackbird, and then you need to mass attack. I just do a row, but you could honestly do with an L or a column as well. Just need a mass attack plus combo and then kill everything, right? Keep in mind, if you don't mass attack, you're dead. Alright, after floor 3, you get Cronos on floor 4, and you just kill him. You just combo out and kill him. It's very simple. Floor 5, there are 3 wizard ladies. The only one you have to watch out for is the blue one. Blue one makes green unmatchable, and green unmatchable is not something you can erase with Blackbird. So you have to pop Garou to get rid of it. Otherwise, you don't worry about it. You just 1C. Make sure to not damage it. Like, if you do too dark, you will damage it too much, and you will just have a very annoying time. Just 1C, 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 1C until turn timer turns to 1. And then you just kill it. Pretty simple. And then it'll do its death animation and yada yada yada, and you just go along with it. Just make sure if you get the blue one, make sure to use Garou, otherwise you can just ignore the unmatchable for the other 2. Okay, now we have Chester. Chester is pretty interesting. So I just pop Chakeol, Blackbird, Garou on the first half of Chester, get the shield up, get my orbs, and then just blast as hard as you can. But you have to make sure you use Garou, right? Because you need the no Skyfall for the next turn, right? Where, guess what? You pop the super resolve, and then with Chester, he summons these spinners, and he does, you know, it gives you some time to kill them, right? Yada yada yada. What you do is you do not pop Blackbird. What you do is instead you match 2 dark combos and just leave it at that. And do not use Blackbird. Just match 2 dark combos, yank them out of the spinners, and then just leave it at that. And so what ends up happening is, you know, you deal no damage, right? You autofoil. Okay, cool. Chester just hits you and then makes you on your way. Now, you might be thinking, like, what was the point of that? I could have killed him right away, right? You'll see on the next floor. We have either Astraea or Tethys. Now, with Tethys, you don't really need to worry much. Tethys is you get a full blue board, so use Garou first, once the orbs inside are dark, and then use Blackbird after. Save the Ghostring. Make sure to match 2 dark combos, and then what I recommend is just try to save as many red orbs as possible without comboing them, so that the next turn, when you have the VDP kill, you have a bunch of red orbs stored already that you can convert very easily. I mean, you don't really have to. You can obviously stall for a couple turns, save up orbs. Not really a big deal. If you run into Astraea, Astraea is the reason why you stall the turn, right? Because Astraea casts these really annoying 2nd and 4th row spinners that really make it hard to do anything. But if you stall an extra turn on Chester, what ends up happening is when you get to Astraea, Astraea thinks the spinners that Chester casted are his and will just hit you instead. And so now you get much easier Chester spinners that will expire in a turn instead of Astraea spinners that are much more annoying that will also expire in a turn, but if you don't kill, then you are left with spinners in the middle that last for 5 turns. You know, it's just a painful time. So just do what I say and your life will be much easier. Next up, we have a Tsukuyomi or Orochi, I think. And so, Tsukuyomi, you're just one shot. Don't need to worry about anything, just one shot. Just make sure you have a lot of Dark Orb. Use Garou and Ghostring I wouldn't use Ghostring freely, but if you ever get Yomi, I would just use Garou right away and just kill it. And don't hesitate on skimping out on the orbs, because, you know, if you don't, there's a chance you don't kill, and if you don't kill, then you're just doomed. If you get Orochi, what you do is you use Allatu the first turn, hit it down as hard as you can, use Ghostring the second turn to unlock again, and then kill it. Pretty simple. Next up, we have the Nepthys Nut Osiris floor. This is interesting because depending on what you got before, it changes the interactions for each floor. So let's kind of tackle it here for a bit. If you get Nepthys, I think you have to stall a turn, and then you Ghostring and then you kill. I believe Nepthys casts this attribute Absorb Shield of Light and Dark, which is why you can't do anything. The next turn it won't do that, it'll cast Fire, Water, or Wood. But for the first turn, you just have to stall, and then you kill on the next one, right? It'll lock orbs, and it can lock fire, so that's why you want to use Ghostring then on the second turn. And it doesn't matter if you get Orochi or Tsukuyomi, I think. If you get Osiris is pretty annoying. I think with most leads, you're able to one-shot. So if you get Yomi, and then you get Osiris, you get a lead swap. I believe with all the leads, you should be able to one-shot. Cross fingers, right? I'm pretty sure. 24 bill. It's a high mark, but as long as you have a good amount of Dark Orbs, if you get Yomi before, you can one-shot Osiris after. If you get Orochi before, what I recommend doing is just, I would hit him a good amount, right? Below half, more than half, doesn't matter. Just hit him a good amount. It'll cast his VDP shield, and then you just VDP him down, right? The reason why I say you have to hit him a bit is because, remember, this team doesn't have like the greatest VDP damage because it's not really that necessary. So what you end up doing is you just hit it a good amount. For Osiris, I recommend like 2, maybe 3 dark combos. 3 is cutting it kind of close. 2 is a good amount. I think it really depends on the lead you get swapped into. Once you chip it down, you VDP it, and then you kill it. That's Osiris. With Nut, if you get Yomi before, you one-shot Nut. If you don't, what you end up doing is you do 2 dark combos to hit below half. And then what I would do for safety is you just put up the shield for Amaj, 1C, Amaj, 1C, and then go back to your normal Blackbird or active rotation. It's not that difficult. If you want to speed through, you could theoretically just 1 Amaj, and then for the other one, you just go for it, pray that you have enough orbs, and then on the next turn, you just hope you get Indra, and then you just kill it right away. So now we have floor 10, which is the Indra Vritra floor. If you get Indra, you can one-shot him if you really want. There's nothing wrong with that. If you want to play it safe, you use Allatu, you match 2 dark combos, and then you just stall everything out. Because remember, once you get past the first floor, he will give you like 3 free turns and then kill you. But the thing is, you can just easily kill him before then, right? If you want to go speed, then you just one-shot him. It's kind of simple. You just one-shot him. Next up, we have Vritra. Vritra is probably the more annoying one. It has a darker matchup. What you have to do here is When it casts the dark unmatchable, you use Garou, and then what ends up happening is you have to match the board in such a way where you blob all the dark. You cannot match 2 dark, because if you match 2 dark combos, you'll hit it too hard. Blob all the darks, and you have a light combo and a heal combo, right? And then hit it as hard as you can. Because Garou has a 2-turn cooldown, so you need to buy an extra turn for it to come back up once you use it in the very beginning. And then, of course, when it makes it unmatchable again, you just kill Vritra once you use Garou again. Next, we have the Wee Jas. One of them is the most annoying spawn in the dungeon, and the other one is super free. So if you get the green one, it's super free. You use Allatu, you 1C 3 times, and then you just combo out and kill it, right? As long as you have 3 dark, you should be able to one-shot it very easily. If you get light Wee Jas, there's a couple ways you can deal with this. You can try to VDP to deal damage, but if you don't want to, you just combo out, right? And then you do a little damage. And then what you have to do is either for 4 turns, you do 2 dark combos and like 10C and it'll chip pretty nicely. Or you can try to VDP a couple times and kill it that way. I screw up a lot on the 2C kind of strat, so I just go and VDP it, but it's up to you how you want to do it. There's just a couple ways to get around it, right? It's just really annoying because it takes a lot of time, a lot of energy, yanking out spinners and dealing with that stuff. Not my favorite, but it's whatever. Next, we have the Metatron, Paimon, Eschamali floor. Metatron is pretty easy. You just hit it to super resolve, you do her puzzle, and then you kill it. Cool. Paimon is, how do I put it? You need to have Ghostring up, and then you need to save orbs. So the nice thing about Paimon is light, so all your damage is doubled. So you only really need 2 dark. So what I recommend is with Paimon, I would hit it with 2 dark combos and combo out all your non-dark, non-fire, right? Save up dark and fire. And then on the turn where you have to deal with the below 50% moveset, it like puts up a VDP shield and then it locks and it does a grab, right? Use Ghostring and then go for the kill. If you don't, you're probably gonna have to deal with some annoying poison stuff, which is not fun. Especially because you don't have full poison resist, so yeah, just make sure to save the orbs in 2-tap. You can actually use Garou as well. Okay, Eschamali is the most dangerous because if you screw up and you trigger the dark attribute absorb, you are just doomed. You lose. What I recommend is on the first turn, do 2 dark combos and then blob one of the dark combos with like 6 orbs. 5, 6, 4 is okay. Just blob that second dark combo and do 10C, 2 dark with one of them being a blob, right? You'll do a good amount of damage, but you won't go below half. The next turn, you gather up all your orbs and then you annihilate Eschamali. It's a controlled 2-tap, right? And again, I recommend using Garou on the first turn because the no Skyfall really helps in just damage controlling Eschamali, because guess what? You Skyfall an extra dark, you're dead. There's nothing you can do. Next up, we have the Norns. If you have 4 dark combos, all of them are one-shottable. Keep that in mind. If not, You have 3 dark. Honestly, just match 2 dark. And then go below half. I think you need to use Allatu for all their below 50% movesets. And then you just 2-turn them. Honestly, I would just pray. Most of the time I get a lot of dark orbs, so I just one-shot them. But if you can't, then just be safe. Do 2 dark combos and then 2-shot them. I guess the best one is like Scald. You get a bunch of spinners. What I recommend is on the left side half for Scald, you do 3 dark combos, right? Just, you know, straight horizontal, right? You stack that half. And then for the other half, you put combos on the top and bottom, and then you just make a combo in the spinners and spin that combo to dark. That gets you the 4 dark combos you need to instant one-shot. Okay, Planar. Planar is, well, very tanky. You need to use Garou here. So you can't use Garou on the Norns. Keep that in mind if you're trying to one-shot. Planar, you need to use Garou, regardless of the unmatchable. And then what you end up doing is, if you do at least 1 turn of 4 dark combos and 1 turn of 3 dark combos, you will 2-shot them. If you do 2 turns of 3 dark, you'll go right above 1%, and then you have to deal with like the halted hands moveset. So 1 is 4 dark and 1 is 3 dark. Now, it's nice if you hit the 4 dark on the first floor, but if you only hit 3 dark, what ends up happening is you get a spinner board and a bunch of stuff, and you can manipulate that board to get 4 dark combos. What I recommend, start in the bottom left corner, make a dark combo there, make a non-dark above that, and then on the left side you'll have a column, right? You make a dark combo on the left side, another non-dark combo, and then you have the spinner combo, and then you have an area on the top right, you make a dark combo there, non-dark, and then there will be a spinner in the middle row-ish area on the middle row right, and you can make a dark combo there and just spin out the dark orb. That's what I recommend for your 4 dark combos, so that you can 2-shot Planar very easily. Now, you gotta be very careful with Baby Mille. And reason why is because if you hit it below half, it will heal itself, put up a VDP shield, and then just camp. And while you can deal with that, there is a way to skip this. If you just perfectly damage control right above half, and then just destroy the next half. Right? And so what I recommend is, like Eschamali, what you do is you get the 2 dark combos, blob the second one with around 5 orbs. 6 is kind of sketchy, so I would just stick with 5. If you L, I don't think it makes a huge difference, but I would try avoiding that. And then make sure to get around 10, 11, 12 combos. Don't go more than 12. Blob the hearts if you have to. If you do that, you will hit it right above 50%. You don't need to Garou because Baby Mille already cast No Skyfall, but yeah. You can Garou if you want. Once you do that, you'll hit right above 50%, and then you kill it on the next turn with a bunch of dark combos. And that is how you make your life a lot easier and a lot faster on Baby Mille. If you have to deal with the VDP stuff, just VDP it down. You know, it sucks, but you just do what you gotta do. It's not like it's very dangerous, so. Now you get the bosses, right? They're not really that difficult. I'll start with Light Mille. Light Mille is just hit as hard as you can, and eventually you'll kill it. You have to be careful with your damage. Try not to hit into execute. You won't be able to do much damage if they put up the 75% shield or if they put up the VDP shield. But the other ones you should be able to do good damage. And make sure you have your Chakeol shield up for the below 50% moveset. And yeah, it's honestly not that difficult. You get spinners, but you can just combo around the spinners. It's Abide's, you know, it's big boss, I know, but it's not really that complicated. Green Mille is kind of annoying. You have to be careful. Like if you're gonna pop for orbs, just pop Garou freely. Save Ghostring until you get locked. Save Allatu for consecutive locks. If you do that, you shouldn't have much problem with getting trolled. Otherwise, you just hit it as hard as you can. It's a 20% chance to get a dark color void. So if you get dark absorbed, then just try to do as little damage as possible. And yeah, just hit it as hard as you can and you'll eventually kill it. And be careful of execute. It's not really that complicated. Keep in mind that below 50%, you do get a full board lock. So you do have to save either Allatu or Ghostring for that. B Mille. This one is interesting because you have to line up your Garou timing, but it's not really that difficult. B Mille moves every 2 turns, right? And every time she does something, she'll cast an unmatchable effect. What you ideally want to do is when you do the 1-2-1-2, every time she makes a move, you want to have Garou ready and use that. And then the next turn she does nothing, right? Because she's charging, and then you use Ghostring and just pound. And then once she moves again, then you use Garou. So you just want to line the active up. If you don't have it lined up, just save Garou until she moves again and then line up the active timings that way. Otherwise, you just pound Mille as hard as you can and it should be a 7-turn kill. And yeah, that's it. That is MD2 farming in a nutshell with this Blackbird team. So yeah, I mean, if you guys have any questions, comments, concerns, let me know. I'm very curious about optimizations. If you have any ideas to optimize the build, let me know. I'm very interested in that. otherwise, just let me know what you think in the comments below. I hope you guys enjoyed. I mean, it's really strong, and MD2 farming is like the nuts because you can get super snow globes and you can get double damage cap latents, and you get Ps and you get some good 6-slot latents as well. So yeah, it's a great for farming, and this is the Blackbird team I use to consistently farm. Should be around 20 to 25 minutes, and 25 minutes is like you get really unlucky on Jimire or just really unlucky overall. It's more around 20 to like 22, 23 minutes. So yeah, I hope you guys enjoyed. I'll see you guys next time. Good luck and have fun.